The 2025 federal election is quickly approaching. In fact, it's just days away. And today we have the opportunity to discuss the issues with Tom Rooke, who's the Liberal candidate for the Medicine Hat, Cardston-Warner riding. Tom, welcome to Bridge City News.
Well, thank you very much. Really a pleasure to be here and talk to your audience because as our territory, our riding, shall we call it, is so large that it's hard to get a hold of media that is going to take us to that area. And Bridge City News provides a good coverage of the riding. So I'm very pleased that I'm able to do this with you.
Well, thank you for saying that. Now, let's get to know you a little bit more. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and why you decided to enter into the federal election fray.
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think I'm prepared to answer that in the fact that I'm not a lifelong politician by any stretch of the imagination. I did sit on the local school board here for a while, and that I don't consider to be political. That was just something that I felt I needed to do. But I also have a little bug in my ear about a variety of different topics. So I write letters to the editor of the local newspaper here, the Medicine Hat News. And at this particular point in our country's election coming up, I decided that enough with the words, let's have some action. So I went to the local party and said, have you got a candidate? And they said, well, we're just putting together a little group of people to see if we can get a candidate. And I said, throw my name into the hat, and long story short, yes, I ended up to be the candidate. That was about a month ago, so it's been a real uphill battle in a short time frame, shall we say. But we're doing very well. We've got a really good volunteer group that's working for us, and they've been doing a marvelous job in covering the city here in Medicine Hat. And we hope to get out to the countryside tomorrow and do a little campaigning out there as well.
And you said that there were some issues burning in your heart, and so we're going to talk about that a bit later in this interview. But much of this election has been focused on how to stand up to the U.S. and the tariffs. So what do you see as the best approach to deal with this?
Well, I think our leader, Mark Carney, has already done a lot to deal with the tariff problem. Mr. Trump and his cronies down there have really set the world economy on its butt, shall we call it? Pardon my French. But what has happened with the tariffs right away, as Prime Minister Mark Carney got together with the premiers and people from the territories and sat down, and they ironed out a plan like almost immediately. And what has happened with that plan is that they have become united. Canada has become united like it's never been united before. And that is the kind of thing that Canadians want. They want somebody to stand up to Donald Trump. And so far, the rest of Canada has stood up to Donald Trump under the leadership of Mark Carney. Just today's headline in the Medicine Hat News said that right now, the tariffs that have been imposed by the U.S. will remain even because one of the concerns was that there was not enough border protection. Well, that border protection has been increased, so much so that the United States is now saying, we're not going to increase your tariffs. The tariffs are still there, but we're not going to increase the tariffs. And I think that is another indication of the Mark Carney leadership that we need for this country, and that is the fact that he will stand up to Donald Trump, and he will do what is necessary for Canada's sake to protect our sovereignty and things like that. And you notice that the U.S. is not calling us the 51st state and not calling our prime minister the governor anymore. That shows me strong leadership to have that done.
Now, the Liberal Party has now released its costed platform, which includes a lot of government programs. There's a lot of spending, but there's also a large deficit. Is this spending needed, and is it worth going deeper into debt?
I don't know whether we're going to go deeper into debt on that particular thing, because one of the plans in that is to investigate all the different aspects of things, not to to put, as an example, put a cap on employment, not to cut employment, but to put a cap on that. And of course, through that, you'll end up saving money, in a sense, by attrition. And that's the kind of thing that Mark Carney is good at.
You're saying like a cap on like government employment? Is that what you mean?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. No, not my employment. Thank you.
I want to get clarification on that.
I appreciate that. Yes. Yes. That is just one aspect of the whole plan. Also to investigate any outside, what would you call them, consultants, shall we say. There's a lot of that kind of thing going on that Mr. Carney has said we're looking into that so that we can make sure that we don't necessarily need to use that many consultants. So there's a variety of different things that the plan to help reduce deficit. And I think he has said something to the effect that by 2028, these things will come to pass and the deficit will be reduced.
Now, something we hear in southern Alberta and really across Canada is people lamenting over the lack of affordable housing, and many find it difficult to even pay rent. What's your party's plan to make these costs more affordable for southern Albertans?
Well, again, the plan, and it has been, as you said before, it has been indicated, costed out on a platform basis, but one of the first things that the Liberal Party under Carney has said is to address that issue wholeheartedly in building new homes. One of the things that he has emphasized so strongly is that Canada is strong, and we will be able to look to, I'm trying to find the words here, look to build. I think he used the example of after the Second World War, back in 46, 47, etc., we, under a Liberal government at the time, by the way, managed to put together all the houses that were necessary for the returning soldiers and people coming after the war. Big baby boom. I was almost one of them. I was born during the actual war, but as you know, the baby boom went from 46 or 47 all the way up to 62, somewhere in that area. That required a lot of housing, and that was achieved. And I think what Mr. Carney is looking at is something similar to that. So building Canada strong, not just the economy, but also using the various resources that we have, such as Canadian lumber, such as other types of things that you need to build those kind of ideals. Yes, it is a problem, and he has recognized that as a problem, and he has put together a plan to build those houses in different things. Just recently, as an example, in the city of Calgary, we have them using a lot of the office space, which was overbuilt in terms of office space down there, and they have converted them to housing. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at, not necessarily, well, mind you, for this area, it would be something along that line. If there's vacant space here, say in Medicine Hat or down in Bow Island or wherever, those are the kind of things that people can relate to and convert it to, and they just want a roof over their head. And it's something that is very much on people's mind to do that.
Now, when it comes to either building houses or repurposing existing properties, how would this building plan be funded, and where would the money come from?
By creating a stronger economy. And by doing that, we look at other areas. Right now, we are very reliant on the United States, and we have already looked to reach out to other countries, the UK, France, Germany, Japan, Australia, those kind of places, creating unions with them for trading purposes. And it all works out, which will then strengthen our economy and be less reliant on the United States.
Now, on the environmental front, many southern Albertans are still feeling the economic impact of the carbon tax. Now, Mark Carney did reduce the carbon tax down to zero, but of course, the carbon tax itself was put in place by the Liberal government itself. Can you explain why the Prime Minister believes that the costs of the industrial carbon tax won't get passed down to consumers?
I trust Mark Carney, and I think it will not get passed down to consumers, but he is going after the large corporations, shall we call them, that are emitting that kind of thing. And by the way, that ties in with agreements with the European Union, who is saying if you want to trade with us, then we're either going to put a tax on you if you're not meeting your standards in terms of carbon removal, or you can join us. So that's why we've looked at exactly that to put not a tax, whatever, going after the large emitters to make sure that we're achieving the targets that have been set, so that we can also then say to the European Union, yes, we've got that in there. One way or the other, they're going to charge us, but they would charge us more. And basically they're saying, if you don't do this, we don't need to trade with you, kind of idea. So that's exactly where we're going with that particular thing. So with that in mind, I do not see that Mr. Carney or the Liberal Party, the Liberal government, will be adding the tax, or pardon me, the carbon tax back to the consumer.
Now let's talk more about your riding, because your riding is rich in natural gas resources, which create employment, and a majority of Albertans and Canadians want to see a coast-to-coast pipeline built. Now, we're hearing Mark Carney say, quote, "I'm going to make Canada the world's leading energy superpower." But on the other hand, he told a Quebec audience, we have to choose a few projects, a few big projects, not necessarily pipelines, but maybe pipelines, we'll see. Can you explain this to the local voters?
Oh, right. What Mark Carney has done is got together, as I said, with the premiers and other people. I'm not sure what their title is up in Northwest Territories or whatever, but anyway, those people had said, look, we're hurting ourselves with all these interprovincial trade barriers, etc. So they're working together to get those changed and reduced, if not eliminated. And then when you have a problem such as the pipeline going through Quebec and into the Maritimes, that's the kind of thing that he's speaking when he's speaking to a Quebec audience. He's not going to say, we're going to force you to do this. He's going to negotiate. And once the negotiations are done, then he's going to be able to say, hey, we've got a pipeline that we can go from coast to coast to coast. Because he's also looking to the north to do that as well. And we already have, of course, the Trans Mountain pipeline that has been completed, and the oil is flowing out there.
Now, we're almost out of time, so any final thoughts on why you believe a Liberal federal government is best for our nation?
I would suggest that one of the reasons why folks that are listening or watching this, pardon me, would vote Liberal is because there are no more progressive Conservatives anymore. There's a lot of people who've been voting Conservatives thinking that they're getting the same government that they got under John Diefenbaker or Brian Mulroney or that. But once the government came in under Stephen Harper, as an example, it is really a reformed extreme right government, and it's become even more extreme, and I'm kind of concerned about that for the sovereignty of Canada. I don't see us joining the states in any way, shape, or form. And I would just like people to think, just for once, that you might want a representative that is on the government. All polls right now indicate that the Liberals are going to form the next government. And wouldn't it be nice out there if you had somebody representing you in your concerns? Because there are some legitimate concerns only to southeastern Alberta. And I would like to be that person that takes your concerns to the government of Canada rather than sit on the backbench and make silly noises.
Tom Rooke is the Liberal candidate for the Medicine Hat Cardston Warner riding. Tom, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Really appreciate that, giving us the time.
I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, Thanks for watching.